What's up, guys? I'm Tinashe Moyo, and welcome to another episode of Stride. On this channel, my goal is to inspire people to take the first step towards their goals in life using my personal experiences. And in this video, we have a special guest in the house, a really good friend of mine who's gonna let us in on some parts of her life. So, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce to you my good friend, Ropafadzo Gusha. Ropa, welcome to the show.
Thank you
podcast,
so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yes, so it's been a long time coming.
It really has been a long time coming.
Yeah.
I can't believe we started talking about this last year and we are only getting to do it 4 months into 2024. It's been a long time coming, really.
It's quite interesting, but I think before we go any further, I really appreciate the fact that you were able to open up and just ask to be on the show. So, yeah, at least maybe you could just briefly introduce yourself to the audience, the universe, whatever I call them, I don't know.
Okay, so my name is Ropafadzo Gusha. The F is silent because I really don't like that name.
Why not?
I'm just not used to it. You know, like when you grow up, you have like probably the school name and then the home name. I never really had that. It has just been Ropa. So I never really got the chance to get used to the F name. So, well, it's Ropafadzo Gusha. I am 25, turning 26 very soon. Yeah. And I'm a bubbly young lady. As you can see, I've got the energy, I've got the vibes, everything correct.
Of course.
And yeah, basically that's about me. And I recently graduated with a master's degree in communications and media, and I also hold a degree in journalism and media, though unemployed. But what can we do? But anyways, that's all about me basically. And should I add on? What else should I add on?
I don't know. Anything if you want to.
Maybe I'm a Jesus lover. A Jesus lover. Yeah. Oh yeah. And I love reading a lot. I love reading. And I am, for the records, I am sapiosexual. So I am attracted to the brains, like intelligent conversations. Invite me to those and we'll be good. Well, that's me basically.
Okay. I won't add anything to that. But what I really liked about the introduction is the idea that I learned something from Trevor Noah's latest comedy special. I think it's Where Was I, if you've watched it. So he spoke about this part where it's like when it comes to introductions, it's like people, someone might just say, tell me about yourself. And then usually people start going like, for example, me, I start going like, I'm a designer. I've been working for so many years, blah, blah, blah. So it's like people are now more invested in their professional selves and forgetting about who they really are. So, hats off to you for the lovely introduction.
Thank you.
So, getting into the whole thing now, I think you spoke about, your love for intelligent brains, talks and everything, which brings us to this, like, what motivated you to be on the podcast?
All right. So I've watched a couple of series and you know what? I was like, Tinashe and I have to have a sit down because I really liked what I saw. Hence, I'm here today.
Okay. That was interesting. Because, I always thought to myself that people won't really like the whole podcast thing, or maybe some of the stuff that I say, because I think I just grew up being the kid who struggled with confidence. I was just like, is anyone ever going to care about the stuff that I do. But funny enough, you came in and you know, doing your
actually
thing.
following.
Exactly. Because I actually enjoy the whole thing where people get to tell me like they've never missed an episode. They're always following. They like the channel. I think for me, that's the biggest motivational factor. It's unlike some who are motivated by numbers. Like I always told myself that I don't want that to be, the thing that motivates me. So at least people telling you that they invest in what you do. Yeah, I think.
Especially in a country like Zimbabwe where data is actually expensive.
Exactly.
It really means a lot, doesn't it?
It really does. It really does. It really does. So yeah, it's a good thing. And I think I picked up something, so one of your passions. It's like when you speak, I mean, to my ears, it's just magic. I always hear magical things, So I noticed that the voice is, I think, one of your greatest, should I say, tools or weapons?
I would really say that about myself. I enjoy talking, basically. I enjoy talking.
Okay.
And my dad always says, "Unotaurisa, ropafadzo anyarari," and that's very true. I enjoy talking, and every time I am invited to speak or just presenting in general, it really gets to me like that, because it's something that I enjoy doing. It's like when I'm talking, I'm in my element. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I guess that's just me. You cannot say Ropafadzo and leave talking. Ropafadzo and talking, they go hand in hand glove, if I must say.
And it's a good thing because I think it brings some kind of enthusiasm. Like it's easy to share that kind of energy with someone who's, I'm not usually a talker or even a loud talker. You can actually hear my tone is low, but I actually enjoy conversing with people who, people who like talking. So it then brings us to your experience at ZBC. I mean, that's like, I don't know, should we call it, I can't say manna from heaven. I don't know exactly what we can call it, but just being put in that space with the voice that you have and everything. I mean, how was your experience at ZBC and what were the highlights or even the lessons you learned at ZBC?
I think probably let me just take you through my journey that landed me at ZBC. Well, I was at ZBC, I think 4 years ago. Yeah. That was my internship.
Okay.
So I'd struggled getting attachment placement.
Okay.
And then just one day I was like, you know what, let me just go to ZBC. And then this girl just walked to ZBC through the ZBC doors. I'm like, you know what, you never know what's the worst that can happen. So when I got there, the recruiting officer at that time was like, you know what, we're actually having interviews today, so if you're ready, then boom. Then I was like, girl, I was born ready.
Of course.
So I then went for my interviews, and wow, guess what? The person who was interviewing me at that time, my role model, if I must say, Ruveneko Parenyatwa, and she's someone I really followed and someone I really noticed, So the interview ended up being a conversation. It was smooth. It was just sailing, It was amazing. I will never forget that time. And that very moment, I knew that I had gotten my job. I knew, this is mine, And yeah, it was mine. And contrary to probably the belief, I wasn't on camera. I was actually doing public relations. And I don't want to lie, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it because I ended up meeting a lot of people, a lot of business people, and by virtue of me working with Roveneko, I got into places I never thought I would be in, and that's really a win for me. And one thing that I probably that I probably would correct looking back now is, you know what? In my next life, I'll keep my role models as my role models. Like, I really don't have to be in their spaces or close to them for me to get something from them, because I feel like once you get to know someone on a personal level, right, you get to experience the other side of them which you didn't know on the onset, and it can affect your relationship somehow. So I think that's just something that I would like. But overall, I'm grateful for that moment because it really shaped my perspective and how I view things in general. Yeah.
All right. And I think I just came up with 2 questions. I really don't know which one to prioritize. But I think, okay, the first one, given the chance, would you go back to ZBC?
Yeah, I don't. Yes. I think definitely. I would want to explore other grounds, really.
All right. And I also noticed that while you were at ZBC, you were actually able to start, was it a podcast? And I think it was two episodes deep.
Yeah.
And honestly, I was following. I think I was able to listen to the first episode. Probably the second one I didn't finish, but I was actually following. Like, oh, this is something different. What ended up happening to that?
All right. So the podcast was basically about myself. It was about me sharing like anything about anything really. And along the way, I just felt disconnected from everything really, like what I like, and it sort of like I became a foreigner in my own body, so I couldn't share as much because now it's coming from someone who doesn't even believe in themselves. So I was like, what's the point? Because it's now befitting the whole purpose of why I had started it in the first place. So that's just what happened. But I hope we can get back to it again.
Definitely, because I always feel like people need to hear other people's stories, just like what I did with this platform. And if it comes back to life, I mean, we're always there to support in, every way possible. And one of the things that I also noticed was sometimes it's easy for people to criticize. Like you were 2 episodes down and then it just ended like that. But without knowing your story, like what really happened that caused that to not continue. I think it's always good for people to at least first understand the story, or even just try to find out what really went down, and then you can make conclusions on that. So then I think the other question, I hope it's the exact question because it seems like it was actually going away. But okay, it has actually gone away. Let me move to another question, but I'll definitely come back to that question. So you mentioned about being at home right now, not being employed. And how have you been navigating through that? Like, because I know there's the pressures of just being home, wanting to, get something to do. And obviously, we have different people, be it relatives, friends, who can just project their opinions on you. How have you been handling all of that?
I won't lie, it has been difficult. I've been going through the most, really, because everyone has something to say about your predicament.
Yeah.
Which makes it even difficult because already you yourself, you're going through a lot because of being unemployed. Now someone comes in and then tells you, like, why not do this? Why not do that? Like, don't you think I've already done that?
Yeah.
So it's just been a lot. And honestly, some days are really hard. Some days are generally harder than others. But we move, we move. Because over the years, I mean, like growing up, generally, I've always been a person who likes to have their ducks in a row. Like, from this stage, I'm going to this, I'm going to this, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But graduating and becoming unemployed was never part of the plan. It was never. But I'm just taking it as if it's a lesson that I have to learn, that life is not really linear and things don't really go as planned. Sometimes, like, life it's detours, it's like twists and turns, and I think I'm just living in that moment of twists and turns. But
It's tough.
Consumer, it's tough. It's really tough.
And I think you always wish people would understand your predicaments, because I was in the same boat. I think I spent more than 5 years at home. I had nothing, and I'm the guy who wasn't academically gifted. So I think failing in school, I hit this roadblock where I didn't really know what I was supposed to do, where to go. And then there's people like just throwing darts at you, telling you, do this. Someone even told me to do plumbing.
And the difficult thing is, the most difficult thing is, people don't really ask you what you want, It's just them projecting what they want on you.
Exactly.
Like, why not try this? Why not ask me, so at this point, what are you thinking about? Like, what do you want?
Exactly.
Like, what are your aspirations? Like, what do you really want? I know myself. I know what I want. Stop telling me what I should want. But yeah, it's just the society that we live in, I guess.
Exactly. I mean, people will always be people, but I think the good thing is if you're able to hold on to what you believe in, your dream, eventually it will pay off. Because for me, I only started living my dream like two and a half years ago. So, but I had to go through so many things, so many fights with my dad, telling me what he thought was okay for me, but I still held on to what I really liked. And speaking about the pressures from society, I know society gives us hell so many times.
Yes.
And, I think one of the things that actually affect people is, how best can I put it? I think things like marriage, and especially when it comes to the ladies, your gender, it's like one of the toughest things. And how have you been navigating through that as well?
I think generally, as a girl, you're brought up to become a wife. All right? Fine. And it's funny how, like, from probably when you're in high school, you're told not to have a boyfriend. It's a taboo, you having a boyfriend, okay?
Yeah.
You get to 18, you finish high school, then you move to college. That is right. Now you're supposed to now find a husband.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I'm just starting to experience this Mjolo thing, and I'm already expected to now get married. And we have this biological clock. I don't even know where it came from.
Yeah.
So now I think I'm at the peak of my biological clock because it goes like, once you are 25, you should now get married.
Yeah.
But hey, am I supposed to marry myself? Like it's a question. Like, am I supposed to marry myself? Am I supposed to force someone into marrying me? Or like, it's just one of those things. And I'm like, what's wrong with people? Like, I don't know. But as for me, I think it will happen when it happens.
For sure.
Yeah, it will happen when it happens.
Because I think even for me, I face pretty much the same challenge. And now I recently turned 35.
Damn.
So I used to have this idea where I would tell myself that 29 is the cutoff. 29, you get married, you start having a family. But I ended up getting to 33.
And you know what? I recently came across a joke on Instagram and I quote, I thought I would be married by 25. But guess what? I'm not even a girlfriend. I mean, it's those type of things. Obviously, like we put sort of like marks to say, at this point, I should be here. At this point, I should be here. But God has other plans. God has His plan. And the funny thing, or the interesting thing rather, is our clock and God's clock, totally different. Totally different.
Yeah.
Because I remember at some point, I used to say, you know what, 25, I'll get married. And I'll start having kids and I'll be living with my husband. I would have gotten a job, moneyed, like this beautiful life.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, okay. I think I was joking that time. Really. Because life seems to be going in another direction. But we take each day as it comes, one day at a time.
Yeah. And it just reminded me of someone who I think called me sometime last year, and they were just like, I need to talk to you. And I was like, okay, about what? And they were like, I've got two things, going to the UK and getting married. I was like, okay, are you going to give me the money to do these two things?
Yeah.
But, it's like people just think of things and they just think like, oh, maybe that they've got a magic wand. You'll get
exactly.
this, you'll get that. There's no magic wand.
That's the thing. And life happens to us differently and things happen differently. You got married at 25. You married at 30. You married at 26. That's you. I am me. I'm Ropa. You are Tinashe. And we are different people with different destinies altogether. So I think the earlier people start to embrace that people are different and have got different narratives, the better. But obviously, it's not going to happen because people will always be entitled to their own opinions.
Exactly.
So you just move with what's there and what you believe in, as you've said before. Because wanaonga bagoni at the end of the day.
Of course. And because I remember when my friend got married, Paddington, I think it was the worst time of my life. If I have to be honest, it was the worst time because I was like, this guy is 2 years younger than me. I mean, you had to wait for me to start getting married first, and then you have to follow suit. But then it's like, of course, we might be from the same tree, but then the fruits get ripe at different stages.
Yeah.
So,
and you know what? With that again, it's the thing whereby you're like, it's not that I'm not happy for you, but I'm just thinking, what about me? Like, what about me? God, are you not seeing me as well? You start to ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And there, before you even know it, you fall into depression somehow. But I don't know. I guess we live each day and as it comes, and we live to learn. I don't know, but it's just hard sometimes.
Yeah, it really is. And I feel like these are some of the things people don't really open up about. I mean, yeah, of course, everyone is entitled to their own opinions, each to their own. But it's like, I think the less we mask what we're going through, the better things become for us. Because you then get to see people like social media. You've got people posting different statuses as if they're actually enjoying life, but you don't really want to tell people exactly what you're going through. And it actually brings me to the question that since everyone faces like challenges in life, how best do you handle some of these situations, and who's your anchor? Like, who's your go-to person? Like, when I have this, I call this person, I go to see this person.
You know what? Honestly, I don't want to act like I have everything figured out. I'm trying, and I'm learning, honestly. But like I've said, some days are just so hard.
Yeah.
But, well, I think my mom has really been my go-to person. She's my safe haven. I feel like I can talk to her about anything. And I think by mere fact that she's my mom, she understands me better. And she understands that when I'm in pain, I'm actually in pain. When something is bothering me, it's actually bothering me for real, And I've also, lately, I've really been paying particular attention to my relationship with God. So I just feel like if anything, I can run to God. If anything, Ropa, go to your room, pray about it, talk to God about it. And sometimes it's not really about you kneeling down or what,
Yeah.
It's just me being quiet and my heart confessing with God. And sometimes going to the prayer mountain, like, I'll just go there. I'll cry myself out,
Yeah.
And I know the time that I leave, I'll be in a better place, in a better position. Because I've learned that, you know what, it's okay for you to open up, for you to share, but now you don't really know, like, what people think after you've shared. Exactly. Because it's another thing going through your problem. And now, you having to go through people's projections of your problem. It becomes too much. So exactly. you really need to talk to people who understand, and not someone who's like, you know what, I'm talking to Tinashe right now. I can't wait to pass this information to John, I can't wait to pass this information to the next person. Like, why? So I just feel like my mom, my go-to person, she's my girl, that one.
Yeah, and I think parents are the best people we can talk to, because they know us better than we know ourselves.
They know the real you.
Exactly.
The real you.
Yeah.
Not the one you want to be.
Exactly.
2 days ago, I came across a video on TikTok, and I learned something, This lady was saying, you know what? Nothing lasts forever, The hard times, even the good times. So it's always important, if you're in your best season, make good use of your best season. Make good use of your lack of whatever you're going through, because it's not going to last forever. And if you're also going through a hard time that is, don't worry, like, live it with grace, because it's surely not going to last forever. It's just a phase. And as we live our lives, we are living our lives in phases. Storms, you have summer, you have winter, you have,
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think it then brings us to, I think, spirituality, of course, since you spoke about your relationship with God. I think church-wise, I noticed like your leadership qualities. I think I really condone them, and I see similar qualities with myself. How have those helped you maneuver in life?
I think firstly with me, I started wanting to be intentional about everything that I do, really.
Okay.
And it had to start with my spiritual being, because I believe in energies. Somehow, I don't know where I got that from, but I believe in energies. And as I believe in energy, I feel life generally is spiritual, whether we like it or not, and whether we believe it or not.
Yeah.
It is spiritual. And everything flows from your spirit, your soul, your energy. Right? So I needed to fix that first. And fixing that entailed of me fixing my relationship with God. And you know how when you grow up, you're told, you're going to church, you have to pray, you don't really understand why you're doing that, or why you're even, why am I even praying? Why am I even going to church? And when we were young, it was going to church because we want to go to Sunday school, because you have that cool teacher to Sunday school. But now, as you grow older, you now want to have meaning in everything. You want everything to be meaningful. So for something to be meaningful, you really have to understand the dynamics of whatever relationship that you're forming. So I then got closer to God, if I must say, in wanting to know Him more, wanting to understand my spirituality as a person.
Yeah.
And I remember at some point I was like, you know what? I cannot sing. That's a fact. I can't sing. I cannot sing. And our traditional churches, the one that I go to, the Church of England, that we go to, we have Wosho, we have Ngoma, right? And I cannot play any of those instruments. All right. Then I'm like, Ropa, so what are you going to do in church? God, I need to serve. And what I know best is talking, speaking. That's what I know best. And I'm like, you know what? Why not I try preaching? And I tried it. I think it worked. I don't know. And I was like, place me in situations where I have to serve, doing probably something that I like. Something that I enjoy doing, and I remember even last year, I made a prayer. I'm like, God, I don't know how 2024 is going to roll out, but above all, I want to serve in 2024. I want to serve as best as I can. And then came leadership roles now. I'm like, people really see me? Do they? And honestly, I feel like it's molding me into someone I never thought I would be. I've just realized that I've become so patient. Because when dealing with people, you're dealing with different characters.
Exactly.
And if you're not patient, you're definitely going to burn out. And over the years, I've struggled with patience, really. If I want it now, it has to be now. If I want you to do it now, then do it now. Not later, not what, now. I mean now, it's now. So with this, I've learned to be patient You know, when you're dealing with people, you just have to be a little patient and yeah. And obviously, just accepting different views and different outlooks on things because people think differently. We're not the same.
Of course.
So, being a leader, especially at church, people have certain expectations of you. And you're trying to juggle between the kind of person that you are and the kind of person that people expect you to be. So
exactly.
you're somewhere there in the middle. And it takes skill. Really, it takes skill. Because you can't really be stuck onto the person that you are. And you can't really convert to be the person that people want you to be. Because with that now, it's going to be a problem. But you just have to be somewhere in between. Because you yourself, you're not right. You are not solely right. And them, they are not solely right as well. So somewhere in between lies the best of all. So, but I'm still learning.
Yeah, of course. I think we stop learning the day we die.
True.
I think I picked it up early on. And I think for me, church leadership, I think I attribute all my success to that, and also a big shout out to my mom, because ever since I was a kid, she always made sure we never missed any services. It's only unfortunate that I think just a few years ago, I just hit my low point. I stopped going to church. I just didn't know what was really going on with me. But before that, I picked up a lot of things. For me to be able to do this podcast, it's all because of church, because I was able to stand in front of people, speak in front of people. And I remember the first time I started to preach, I think it was in 2008, people were actually amazed. Like, oh, we didn't know you were good enough in front of people. So that actually boosted my confidence. And even at school, even though I didn't succeed in my exams, but I was able to do things like presentations, contributing a bit more, something I never used to do in grade school. So I think it really helped, even at work too. Those leadership qualities, you actually get to, direct people when it comes to how you can live your life.
I think church somehow, it's your starting point, If you're someone who wants to be a leader, later in life, start at the church. Because you do things wrong, but those people won't really judge you. They'll look at you and, in a way, really nice. They'll be like, you know what? You do better.
Yeah.
Unlike the real world is not really forgiving. Once you mess up, you've messed up.
It's done. Yeah.
It's done with. And people can actually write you off. Unlike church. So I just feel like church is a good starting point.
Yeah.
As we go.
Because at least at church you get to meet with, I think, maybe people with one agenda to meet with God, find salvation and all of those things. And meeting different people in that space, it teaches you so many different things. Because when you get to speak to people, just casual conversations, you actually get to understand, oh, this person is like this, they see things this way, and it allows you to be open-minded and more confident, I would say.
True.
And I think when you spoke about prayer, prayer really does change things. It's
true.
To be honest, I think I've actually been struggling with being consistent with prayer. Some days I'm just like, I'm on a roll. Next thing, I'm out of it. But I always know who to go back to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a good thing. And like getting back to the whole the passion thing, I noticed the vlogging thing on I think TikTok. What what inspired you to start vlogging, and what are some of the topics you enjoy discussing on your vlog?
All right. So, okay, it's not really vlogging per se because when I first opened my TikTok account, yes, I wanted to vlog about my life and but it got to a point whereby I'm like, I think I don't really have the right equipment. I don't have, like things are not okay for me to be doing this now. So I was just like, you know what? Let me just make this page for my small business. So I do hair and makeup. So I was just like, I'll be posting my content, my makeup content, my hair content, and that's that. But I've realized that in between, I'm like, I feel the urge to share something. So I'm all about inspirational. Let's inspire each other. Let's try it. We are going through a lot. As a country, we are going through a lot.
Yeah.
And that inspiration really goes a long way sometimes. And Christian content. Sis is a Christian girl. Christian content. Yeah. Mostly that's the side of me that I love sharing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think when you spoke about the equipment part, it it just reminded me of the actual day we were supposed to do this episode.
Yeah.
It's Thursday, Independence Day. So yeah, I did get to understand visitors coming through. Like those are some of the things you just can't control.
Yes.
So when you suggested 4 p.m., I was just like, there's some stuff that I need to do. Of course, I had stuff that I needed to do, but I could have just rescheduled that and just come back at 4. Not come back, come at 4.
Yeah.
But the thing was that when I woke up in the morning, I was a little bit depressed because I was getting worried, like, is this thing going to work? Like, we've got one microphone, one camera, one boring view. And I was just like, man, I don't think this thing is going to work. So, and sometimes I even struggle with overthinking, worry, and all of those things, even though the Bible says don't worry about anything, but still, this is human nature. So I actually struggled with that, I think a couple of hours. So when you then texted me, I'd already zoned out. I was just like, no, I'm not doing this thing. Some things happen for a reason. Yes. I won't do this thing. So I ended up testing the microphone. All of this was actually premeditated. It's not something that I tried like now, let me be smart. I actually tried it out. Like, okay, I think this is the best angle to capture the sound, So there was one quote I think I came across on social media that said, work with what you have to get what you want. So when I tried it out, I was like, okay, seems okay. You obviously won't get the best sound like the one you usually get when I'm doing things alone, but still, I actually got a confidence boost. Had I not tried it on Thursday, I wasn't going to be here again today. I'd have been playing football instead. So
yeah.
Like,
some days I'm just like, you know what, Ropa, just get on with it. What's the worst that can happen? But then the overthinker that's in me, I'll be like, but you want it to be perfect, but you want it to be really good. Yes. And with that, we end up not doing anything. And actually, that's why I even stopped my podcast again. Because I was like, you know what? The sound is not really... So, I guess these are just limitations that I have to overcome, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because, I mean, this whole thing made me learn and understand so many things, because I myself have struggled with perfectionism for a very long time. I think if you get a chance to ask Paddington, my best friend, he will tell you, I never used to get things out so quick, be it designing or video. I would never get anything out because I'm just like, it's not perfect. It's not yet there.
It's not yet there.
You know?
I needed to get somewhere.
Exactly.
And before you know it, you won't even do a thing.
Yeah, because you end up getting to see someone else using pretty much the same idea that you had. But then you can actually see like, okay, this thing isn't perfect, but it's okay to go out into the public. So we actually hold ourselves back by trying to make life perfect. But I mean, I think I don't know if you've watched the Transformation Church, Pastor Michael Todd.
Yeah, I love that guy. I love that guy a lot.
There's one statement that he normally says, which is, it has to be progression over perfection.
Yes.
So from that time, that's when I started to zone in bit by bit progression. Sometimes I even struggle getting back to the whole progressive thing. But yeah, I think just working with what you have and not really worrying about what people think. Because I mean, honestly speaking, this whole episode, I think before we started, I was just like, man, are people ever going to watch this thing? Because of the whole setup, you get to peek at the camera to see if it's still recording.
Yes.
But then, I think the whole idea is just trying. I always tell people, like, you should never dismiss an idea before you try. At least give it a try. You'll always get a result, be it you fail or you succeed. There's always a result that you get from that, the lessons generally.
I agree with you. I think I really have to put that into practice because
Yeah, you definitely should.
I definitely should. Definitely should, because I think I have to be done with just thinking about things and then finding an excuse before it even comes out.
Yeah.
But
Because
I promise you, the next sit down we're going to be talking about a whole different thing, a whole different story. I promise you.
The part 2, she's gonna be telling us.
Yes, there's gonna be part 2, definitely.
Definitely, yeah. And she'll probably be the one dominating this whole thing.
Maybe.
Yeah, because I think it's a good thing to. I mean, that's the whole point of Stride, like the power of the first step. I learned that myself, and I've been seeing so many different results. So now you have a T-shirt. So
Yay!
that's like your cape, like Superman's clothing.
Yeah, it will always remind me.
Yeah.
Of this conversation.
And just getting into a bit of the social life. How best can I put it? Making friends. How, I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, how can you?
My social skills. I think I would say 8.
Wow.
I think I would say 8. I'm really a sociable person. By virtue of me being talkative, I gel with people. Like, I don't struggle, It's very easy. But now I think friend is a big word. That's a big word.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I really struggle trusting. So, friendship, that's something that's hard. But connecting with people, no, I don't struggle really. Because everywhere I go, the moment I open my mouth, I know I'm going to connect with someone. So, it's never a problem. But now making someone my friend, that's another story.
Another story for part 2.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting because I consider myself, or I shouldn't even consider myself, but I think I've always considered myself socially awkward. I always struggle creating conversations with people. I think I'm like the complete opposite of my sisters. It's so easy for my sisters to, start conversations.
Yeah.
Whereas with me, I have to think like, okay, how are they going to respond? What's the next question I have to ask?
You really depiece at things,
Overthinking.
Yeah, right. But I don't know, maybe it's just an attribute that one has and that one doesn't have. Yeah.
And I think I've been working on that. It's been getting better, I'm not yet at the top level, but I'm actually getting better with that. And well, I noticed should we say you're a bookworm? I noticed you like reading a lot.
Yes, I like reading a lot.
Are you a bookworm? Should we call you a bookworm?
I think that's too deep now. But I generally love reading because I believe nothing is new under the sun. It's just hidden somewhere in books and I've noticed a lot of our generation.
Yeah.
We really don't have that reading culture. Hence, we get to learn things, we get to experience things via social media, via internet, and even the newspapers. Like, we don't really have time to say, I have $1, let me go buy the Sunday Mail, let me go buy the Herald, let me go buy the Newsday. It's like, can I be reading a newspaper? I can just go on my phone and da-da-da-da-da. But I don't know. My dad is someone who's very traditional, and he loves reading.
Okay.
He loves reading a lot. So I think I just got it from him. I'm like, you know what? Actually, I never used to like reading like that. Okay. But once you grab a good book, you never want to stop. Yeah. Grab a good book and you never want to stop.
Yeah. Talk about good books. I think the only books that I was able to read and finish were, I even feel stupid saying this, but wrestling books.
You know what? I don't know, but like when I used to do literature, right?
Yeah.
And we used to do the Shakespeare's, and at some point I used to struggle. I'm like, those books, reading. But as I've said, once you grab a good book, you don't want to stop. That's how you cultivate that culture of reading. Because if you start with it, they are boring books. That's one thing for sure. They are boring books. Yeah. And once you start with that, then definitely you say, no, why should I? And there's hard books to say the English is deep. Like, we go back to the Shakespeare's. It's deep and it's intimate. It's,
Yeah.
There's so much into his art that if you are not a reader and if you if you don't really understand the art that's put into the work, you'll find it difficult to understand Shakespeare. And you're like, reading, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's been my issue, because I think one of the cultures I developed ever since I was a kid was the laziness culture. It's quite a weird culture, but that's the culture that I grew up with, where I never liked to read. My parents would force me, but then I would be like, why should I read when there's a TV? I've got a PlayStation, man. I think most of my English I learned, of course there was school, but I learned from watching cartoons, movies, all of these things. That's what fascinated me. But then these days, there's this thing where, like, we've got the digital age now. We've got people who can summarize a book in like 20 minutes using a video.
Yeah.
So it's like these days I started zoning into some of those things. But still, I think there's always that good feeling when you have this hardcover
when
book.
you have, like I always say, you have soft copy novels and stuff, but I'm like, I want a hard copy that I get to touch, I get to feel, I get to flip pages. I feel like when you are reading a book on your phone, you can easily be distracted.
Exactly.
Because now a message is gonna pop. How are you going to ignore that? Your probably your girlfriend is texting you, "Hi babe," what, how are you going to ignore that?
Screw books,
I'm like, let me just respond to this person, and before you know it, you're on WhatsApp for the next hours. In that book, you probably open it in a week's time. Unlike when you have a hard copy. A hard copy, you can say, you know what, at this point I want to be reading, and you get into that world, and you actually forget about your phone, you forget about other things.
Yeah.
And there's just something about reading in general. As for me, you know what? At some point I was like, I really, really, really hate with a passion that is wrong spellings. It really gets to me like that. It really gets to me. I'm like, how are you misspelling this word, this simple word? And if you are a writer, and if you're someone who is very inquisitive, there's no way you can get a wrong spelling.
Yeah.
There is no way. Because once you read, it opens your mind to a whole lot of diction, a whole lot of new words, new meanings, And now, when you don't have that, social media is okay. The internet is okay. But the internet is the hub of a whole lot of things. Really?
I think for me, the reason why I never really liked reading was because when I was young, I always thought that it would make me old very quick. Because
interesting.
I think I used to associate reading with people who wear glasses. There's that character where it's like you always see them going, like, so I didn't want to get to a point where I would be the young old person nagging people like, hey, come here for a bit. So I think that's one of the reasons why I never liked reading. But I always thought the books were big.
Yeah, and you know what? You have big books, like 500-paged ones, and then you have small books. I think you can have a 10-paged book, but I don't know. I don't know if we should call it a book or it's just an assignment or something. I don't know, but yeah. And But what I've noticed is that some of the movers and the shakers of the world, they are readers.
Yeah.
They are wide and wild readers. They read a lot. And I guess it's one of those things that like kind of like motivated me to start reading as well, because I'm like, I'm seeing myself as someone big one day. So I really have to shape into that, to take form into the characters of people who are, but I actually enjoy it now. I really enjoy it a lot.
Okay.
It's some sort of escapism for me.
Okay. And I think it kind of led to the next question that I wanted to ask, like, what are some of your driving forces in life? Like, what motivates you? What keeps you going? So I'm pretty sure books are some of.
What keeps me going? You know what? At every stage of my life, all right, I've had different things like motivating me, pushing me, But I think one significant thing that has been constant has been the fear of having to be stuck on one position, like being stuck somewhere, not growing. So at every point, I want to experience growth. So you can't expect growth when you're doing nothing. So you have to do something. Even if it means me reading a page, it means I'm no longer the person that I was yesterday, because yesterday I didn't want to read a page. Now I've read a page, So the mere fact that I do not want to be mediocre, I'll then push myself like, Ropa, the moment I see myself sliding, I'm like, you're becoming mediocre. You're becoming mediocre. Yeah.
Okay. I think that's a really great way to challenge yourself, because for sure, reading really does help. Because I noticed even when it comes to people like the singers, actors, they actually take time to read. For me, it's funny that I never really liked to read, but I enjoy writing a lot.
And that's very weird, because, okay, if you don't like reading, who is going to read your work now?
Exactly.
It's just weird in some sort, but
Yeah, but I figured that at least it's a good thing to start involving myself, or I already started involving myself in reading books and everything. So yeah, I think that was a good thing. And what are maybe some of your favorite books you've read, or favorite artists, the writers, I guess?
I think my favorite book as of now, I think I've read this book more than 5 times, but it still hits hard every time I read it.
Okay.
And this book has to be The Alchemist. I love that book. I love that book. And it talks about personal legends and you having to pursue your dreams, pursue your personal legends, you like the universe conspiring to bring forth things that you wish for in your life. It's an interesting book. I really love that book. And I have number 1 is The Alchemist. Then I love Robin Sharma a lot. So obviously the 5 a.m. Club. The 5 a.m. Club, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. Yeah. And also, this book, I read it. I've never taken time reading a book. I really don't take time. When I start reading a book, I have to finish it. If it takes me time, maybe it has to be a week, not more than that. But this one, it's a really good book, but I don't know why it took me so much time.
Okay.
Ikigai, I love that book. I love it. It talks about what we were talking about right now, like what drives you. What drives you is what is called the Ikigai. You should check that out. It's a nice book. And obviously, I love reading memos. And my favorite memo to date is Viola Davis, Finding Me. As I was reading it, I was like, you know what, Ropa, you're going to be reading Viola's story of her finding herself while you're busy finding yourself too. So, yeah.
That's really interesting. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I think memos. For me, I resonate more with memos because I just love hearing people's stories. Because I always think there's something for everyone. There's always something you can pick from what someone went through and all of those things. So yeah, not saying I'm dismissing the other stuff as well, because fiction is cool. Like I can watch movies, so I can definitely read a book as well. So, and here's the interesting thing. One of my episodes, which is titled Stolen Words, that I don't know if you've watched it, but I was just expressing my writing interests, but I would steal people's work, because I wanted to feel good, big.
Yeah.
But
I've also done that a couple of times. Yeah.
Really?
I think, you know what? I feel like the dangers of following certain things a lot is somehow you start impersonating yourself to suit the characters you follow. Like, for example, at some point, I wanted to be on radio. And being someone who listened to a lot of radio, it was so easy for me to impersonate probably Miss Red or KVG because I listened to them a lot. And I would see nothing wrong with that because I'm sounding like them.
Yeah.
And you even start to believe that it's the way you sound yourself.
Exactly.
So I think it's normal, but at some point you just have to find your own voice.
That's true. So I think there's a reason why you ended up reading Finding Me.
Yes.
Because it helped you understand all of these things. And I even noticed that with myself. Like when it comes to role models. In my younger days, I think in my early 20s, I used to idolize like my favorite singers, favorite actors. And then you're just like, there's just something wrong. I'm not really connecting with the stuff that I'm supposed to do because these guys have lives of their own.
Yes.
And we're supposed to live lives of our own too. So until I reached a point where I started to see my dad as my role model. And I think that was the best thing for me because since then, for me to get into all of these things like media, my passion for photography, all of these things, it's a bug from my dad. So it just runs in the family. So it's easy to get into that rather than trying to
find someone out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just
I know.
it's just interesting. Yeah. But I think before we wrap up, what was should I say the best advice you've received that really stuck with you, or maybe to this day?
The best advice that I've received thus far was my mom telling me I'm enough. And in whatever circumstance, I always tell myself, Ropa, you are enough. The way I am, it's enough like that. The way I am will get me where I want to be. Like that. I'm enough and I'm enough. Period.
Yeah, there's some of the best advice anyone can receive. Because when I think of it myself, you only start to realize that you are enough later on in life.
Yes.
When I did the episode, I think it was the second episode, titled The Power of Embracing Insecurities. I always, felt some type of way, like, why don't I have a head like that?
Why am I not shorter? Why am I not like voluptuous? Why am I not this? Why am I not that? You know what? The way you are, you're just enough like that.
Exactly.
Because there can never be another you.
And it will actually help you actually grow.
Yes.
Because with how you are, you're like, okay, this probably won't suit me, but maybe if I do this, this is what's going to connect with me. I remember this funny conversation I was just having with my mom recently. She told me about my birth process in particular. So she was just saying, I think she almost had a Caesar, but we were lucky, or rather, should I say, blessed enough to have doctors just say, no, let's just find another way. So she told me that they had to use the vacuum to take me out.
Oh.
So I was just like, no wonder why my head is the way it is. So I was like, man, please take me to the doctors who did that so that I can have a talk with them. But the interesting thing, I was just laughing about it. Like, I think maybe that was the reason why I failed in school, because I guess the vacuum sucked out all the IQ in my...
Funny.
IQ in my brains was sucked out by the vacuum. So, but hearing a story like that, that means it was a miracle.
Yes.
Something would have actually happened to me. So I'm just thankful, and it made me understand, like, oh yeah, you're actually enough. So I think that's
the way you are, you're enough like that.
So I think it's a good thing. And what are the words of wisdom or advice you would like to give to the audience that may probably be struggling with the issues we spoke about here?
Yeah. You know what? I'm struggling.
Yeah.
And I know there are a lot of other people out there who are struggling. Like, give yourself grace and take each day as it comes, one step at a time. We'll get there. It's just a matter of time. Seasons differ, but we'll definitely get there.
Okay. I think you heard it from myself. Yeah, definitely. Grace is definitely needed. So yeah, I think we've come to the end of our episode. It was really fun talking to you, discussing with you, although we had hiccups with the camera, but still we made it through. So I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to...
You know what? Thank you for having me. This was really refreshing, and just having to sit down and talk, it really means a lot. It really means a lot.
Sure.
I actually feel lighter than I felt before we started recording. So
Okay. Interesting. I'm glad this platform actually helped you in that kind of way. So yeah, I think this is the end of the episode. Thank you guys for tuning in, and as always, subscribe to my channel, leave thoughts in the comment section. I'd love to know what you guys think. I don't force people to comment. I'm never going to force them to comment. I know the time will come, but I really appreciate every single one of you guys for taking the time to watch my podcast. If you are interested in sharing your story and feeling lighter like she did, you can definitely hit me up, and we'll definitely have something for the people, because I actually have I have an interesting lineup of guests for the show. So yeah, I think this was one of the the best days of my life. So yeah, thank you guys for taking the time, and I will see you in the next video.
Bye.
Peace.
Nate Naji. I don't you do this all the damn time.
Yeah, but it's weird because I'm with someone else.
Okay, let me be on my phone then.
I know it's okay. It's okay. It's just a practice, right? I mean, it's action. So.